Yesterday witnessed massive violence across universities. There were violent running battles between protesting students and private security guards at Wits. As protesting students flung stones and rocks at campus security, they retaliated with stun grenades. 31 students were arrested on various charges as students clashed with police. The current protests were triggered by a government recommendation that 2017 tuition fees increases be capped at 8%. Students are up in arms demanding a 0% fee hike, but questions have been raised if this is the right way to vent their frustrations. Meanwhile, in a statement released late last night, Wits' senior executive team said, and I quote, "Considering the safety of our staff and students, we, the senior executive team of the University of Witwatersrand, in consultation with the chairperson of council, have taken the decision to suspend all university activities for the rest of the week," unquote. Well, ANN7 correspondent Giovanni Maciani was at Wits yesterday as the students went on a rampage, destroying property and clashing with security.
Students and police were throwing stones back and forth. This violence lasted an hour, around an hour before almost a truce was called between the students and the police. As you can see, this is the outcome. My cameraman will show you of what has come from the students and the police throwing stones at each other, the violence that occurred and so forth. So after the truce, the students were allowed inside. The police have decided to continue standing on guard.
There are 31 students we know who have been arrested, but for various issues. Some of them were arrested on Wits' property, some of them were outside. Some of them may be in contravention of a court interdict which we have, while the others may not just have may have just been disobeying a police order, etc. So we will look at what the police has charged them with, and we are currently in the process of doing that. There are other measures that we can take aside from that route. If required, we are reviewing all our camera footage at the moment, and if there are Wits students and we can identify them, we will take disciplinary action against those who have broken doors, violated the rights of others, threatened people, etc.
We strongly condemn all those who are engaged in criminal activities of destroying property. No member of the progressive forces should be found destroying property or acting in anything that has to do with destruction of property of universities and of public property. Those who are destroying public property should face the wrath of the law.
The violence that you see in universities, I will tell you for a fact, universities is not a parking lot of police. We condemn the presence of police in our universities when our students are protesting, even if the violence is peaceful. For example, today I went to Wits. Students were marching peacefully, but the presence of police that decided to shoot them when they were just marching peacefully is what erupted this thing. Why do you bring bouncers if you don't have money? Because bouncers per hour, they charge more than 500. But university will come and tell us that they don't have money, but they bring a plus or minus 100 bouncers in our universities. In as much we are anti any violent protest, but we must condemn university managers from bringing bouncers when there is no need or necessity to bring them in our universities.
I don't think that our students necessarily are violent towards property of the institutions until they are provoked to be violent. We have to also understand the anxiety levels that are at play. If you are saying that, look, we've been saying this matter to you guys, you've not been hearing us, you don't give us the attention we're seeking, naturally, we should then understand that there is going to be communication breakdown and there's going to be consequences.
The National Treasury has now called on NSFAS beneficiaries with jobs to start repaying their loans. The Treasury says the non-repayment is making it difficult for varsities to find money to subsidize poor students. Treasury said it would continue discussions with the Department of Higher Education and Training on the fees matter. The results of this process will be made public during the mini-budget to be presented at the end of October. Higher Education and Training Minister Bladen Zamande announced on Monday that universities could increase fees by up to 8% for 2017. The cost of delivering university education in South Africa amounts to around 50 billion rand a year. State contributions to university education declined from 49% at the beginning of the century to 40% by 2012, while the burden on students increased from 24% to 31% during the same period. Now, from 2010 to 2012, tuition fees at the 23 public universities in the country increased from 12.2 billion rand to 15.5 billion rand, while enrollments only increased by 7% during the same period. At the same time, student debt rose from 2.6 billion rand to 3.4 billion rand, an increase of 31% over 2 years. Well, the question is, how does this vicious cycle end? We've got to ask a few key questions on the issue of non-repayment of NSFAS loans. Now, is it only government's responsibility to fund free higher education? And secondly, is it ethical or responsible not to pay back those loans? Shouldn't corporate houses and big businesses step forward and assist in this matter? For the government to have no fee hike this academic year, alternate funding models need to be looked at. ANN7 assesses some of the options before the government. One of those options is to implement a fees must fall levy and impose mandatory fees must fall levy across the tax base. Also taxing big businesses and taxing the rich to support the varsities and meet free education calls. Also deferred payments and students pay in the future through loan repayments or a tax on graduates, and also NSFAS loan paybacks, and also to government to ensure the repayment of outstanding NSFAS loans totaling a whopping 21 billion rand. Also tapping into utilised funds and cut wasteful expenditure in government departments and municipalities to fund free education. The ANC Youth League has accused Higher Education Minister Bladen Zimbande, who's also an ANC executive, of disobeying decisions taken by the ANC NEC. The League was speaking against the ministry's fee hike margin of 8%, which was announced on Monday. Now, the Youth League Secretary General read out the League's statement, pronouncing their rejection of the decision by the Higher Education Department. The statement further said an ANC deployee should have strived for a much better agreeable decision than 8%. ANC Youth League has sounded their sympathies with students and called on the minister to still do more to strive for free education. In the same breath, the League lambasted any form of vandalism by students in their struggle for free education. Now, the Youth League has personally criticised the manner in which Nzimande and the ANC have handled the fee hike matter. Quoting from the Youth League's statement, Njabula Nzuza said, "The ANC Youth League rejects arguments that fee increment should be a margin of 8%. We strongly condemn deployees of the ANC from acting contrary to decisions of the NEC of the ANC."
The ANC Youth League firstly rejects the entire argument that a fee increment to the margin of 8% must be contemplated. As we said in our open letter to the Minister last week, we strongly condemn deployees of the ANC from acting contrary to the decisions of the NEC of the ANC. This is not acceptable. We therefore reiterate our position on a moratorium on all university fees pending the outcome of the Presidential Commission on Free Education.
I think there's a lot of emphasis, which is worrisome, on the economics and the finance. And we're actually missing what the submissions that came from students in October 2015 was to the respective institutions. So the first one we need to emphasize is a quality decolonized education, right? The second one, you said outsourcing, it's actually insourcing, that we want the workers to be in a position where everything that's been happening up to date in terms of them being contracted workers must end. Right, so it's the insourcing. And then the third one is the money.